Hi guys, and welcome to my channel Sketching the World. But today we're not sketching the world, we're in my lounge room where I'm going to talk about the art materials I regret buying the most. I'm going to, as the kids say, spill the tea. Is that what the kids say? I hope it is. When it comes to art materials you regret buying, it's a very individual thing. We all work in different ways, and something that works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So I really want to say why I regret buying these, as well as saying, yeah, just that I regret it. Otherwise, it's not very useful to anyone. And some of these things, like I've got things I regret buying, but if they cost like a couple of bucks, I've probably forgotten about them by now anyway. But yeah, things that were cheap and I'm just bought to test out. It's like, fine, test it. Doesn't work, give it away. But other things, when you've spent a lot of money on something and you're not happy with it, then it's a whole different ball of wax, as they say. So first of all, we've got the Etchr sketchbooks. I've talked about Etchr sketchbooks before. I just have an issue with Etchr sketchbooks, and they are incredibly expensive. And I think I don't really have a lot of sketches in these sketchbooks that I love. Like, I really look at the sketches I've done in them and don't like them. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it's an expensive sketchbook. I don't want to mess it up. I get really tired. I start worrying about what I'm doing too much, and that ruins the sketch. And also, I've been mainly doing watercolors. Everything ends up, like, I've got some stuff. It all looks very heavy and overdone to me now that I look back on this sketchbook. And but yeah, so the paper's really nice. In this one, I think it's Fabriano paper. It's a perfect sketchbook signature series, and I don't have the little wrapper come around it now, but I'm pretty sure it's Fabriano paper. And for the price, I could have just gone and bought some Fabriano paper and cut it up, or it says that Artistico, yeah, Fabriano Artistico. I could have basically made my own sketchbook, or even just painted on the sheets without it being in a sketchbook for a lot cheaper. The other thing I don't like is the binding. It looks fine on the first page. Okay, so now we get to the second page, and whoa, that page is stuck to there. So you've got this little half page. But yeah, so you've got, I'll see if I can get it to the camera better. Yeah, this whole bit of wasted paper. And yeah, as I said, I just haven't enjoyed using it. And if I'd spent like 10 bucks on it, I would be fine, but it was a lot more than 10 bucks. I also have, this one's the Everyday sketchbook. I'm not sure what the paper is in this. Yeah, and again, you've got this where it's stuck. The page is stuck to the other page. It doesn't, this one sits flat because I've been using it and I squash the pages down with the used pages. When you start a new page, you really have to press that down and get it to lay flat. I would much rather something that's bound to sit flat in the first place. And yeah, see, that's stiff, really stiff. And I think there are some pages like where the signatures are joined together that are also glued in a really weird way. Like my use of the word signature. Oh yeah, getting the technical bookmaking terms out here. And then I also bought the Etchr Concertina book. I don't know why I bought it. I don't really like concertina sketchbooks. Accordion, they call it accordion, not concertina. I ended up just using it to make patterns in, which was a lot of fun while I was watching TV. Good way to while your time away with a Netflix binge and some pattern making. But yeah, paper is quite nice in this, but I've always wanted to play the piano accordion. And yeah, it can be a bit hard to work in. I mean, it can work if you've got clips and you just clip it while you're painting. And actually, that's probably my favourite of the Etchr sketchbooks. But yeah, for the price they charge, it's not great. Like we used to say when we were kids, it's not all that in a bag of chips. I'm not sure if anyone anywhere else in the world ever used that saying. I came from a small town in Tasmania and we had some weird sayings. But yeah, Etchr sketchbooks, I would think very, very seriously before investing in them. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. This is something I've spoken about before, and it's one of my really least favourite art materials, fountain pens. Fountain pens suck. Well, they suck for me. For some people they might be fine. Some people might be like, yeah, I love fountain pens. Fountain pens are top notch. But to me, I went out and invested heavily. Like Lamy fountain pen, not cheap. Preppy fountain pen, that one is cheap. If you're going to buy one, that might be a good one to go for. I've got a couple of others that I can't even find because I put them away. And yeah, the thing with fountain pens is you buy the fountain pen, you're spending a lot of money on a fountain pen, and they come with cartridges. And the cartridges that you buy with the pens don't have waterproof ink, which can be fine. If you want to use like not waterproof ink, you're just doing an ink sketch and not using wet media with it, that's all fine and hunky-dory. But if you want to use like do an ink and watercolour sketch, then you need to put waterproof ink in your pen, obviously, or you're going to get it blurred everywhere. So then you need to go and buy I always forget the name of these things. The little bitty bolt that you put in instead of a cartridge, and fill it up with waterproof ink. And this is where my problem lies. I can't fill these things. I really have no sensitivity in my fingertips because I'm diabetic. And so I would have to ask my sister Aunt to fill it up for me. You've got a sort of little screw thing, and then you put it in the bottle of ink and screw that up, and then screw it down to get the air out. And it's very, very fiddly, and it's very messy. I'm sure there are people who can do it with no mess at all, but I'm the sort of person that if I have something that could potentially make mess will be made. Yeah, so it's very fiddly and very messy, and even when I get the cartridge filled up with the waterproof ink, for some reason the waterproof ink isn't that waterproof for me. I don't know what it is. I have this ability, I've mentioned before, to make waterproof ink become not waterproof. Maybe that's just because I lack patience to let the ink dry for long enough, or maybe it's because, yeah, I have, like, that's my supernatural ability. Wow, you know, other people get invisibility and super strength, well, on movies and dramas and things they do, comics. I get turning waterproof ink, not waterproof. Whoa, useless skill. So, yeah, I really wish I hadn't bought them. There are two fountain pens that I like, that I do use. One is the Sailor Fude pen. I usually use this just for ink sketches. I don't use it with wet media because it's, yeah, really good just for sketching on its own. And the other is the Pilot. They're both Pilots, haha. Pilot, you make good pens. The Pilot parallel pen, because it's, like, I love that. How many videos am I going to make where I'm doing raw with a Pilot parallel pen? You can also put, like, take the red cartridge out and put in, say, blue, and then you get the colours blending together within the pen. So, yeah, those two, good pens. Bad pens. I also have a problem with fine liners. Again, the ink goes not waterproof. So, you're out. Oh, another alternative too, if I'm buying fine liner pens, or I want to do like a fine liner type sketch or a sketch outline, the Copic multi-liners, they are the shit. They are alcohol based, so the ink, once you put it down, it doesn't move. You can go over it with any kind of wet media and it's fine. And they seem to last a lot longer than the fine liners. Fine liners, you use them for like 5 minutes and the ink's gone. But the Copics, I've had this one for ages and ages and it's still going strong. The Dagger brush. This is from Rosemary Co. It wasn't a cheap brush. And people say they're amazing. People love them. But I just found there's a very steep learning curve with these brushes, with the dagger edge, trying to get that variety of marks. And to be honest, I couldn't be bothered with the learning curve. I don't want to spend my time learning how to use a brush. I want something that works straight away. So this was a watercolor brush, and I do use it now. I use it for acrylic gouache. That's kind of, yeah, stop using it as a precious watercolor brush and just swirl it around. And that's that one. This one is even worse. This is Tintoretto. This is like an extreme dagger. I'm not even sure what that's called. It's too floppy. Too floppy. And yeah, I never use this one at all. Might be good if you want to do something like that. But yeah. So those are the brushes I regret buying. I've got a couple of others that I kind of use, but these ones were not cheap brushes, so they're out. Watercolour markers. I really like the Ecoline markers, which seem to be a whole different thing to these kind of watercolour markers like this. The thing I don't like about them is you put them down like this, like it's a watercolour marker, so you want to use it with water. But I find, yeah, using it as a marker is fine, but once you start putting water, see how some of it's already set on the page and can't be reactivated, and some of it blends around, so you've got that real line, really hard line there. I mean, maybe if you worked it enough you could get it happening, but who wants to do that? I hate hard work, especially when it comes to painting. I want my things to work straight away. So yeah, these are probably okay if you use them just as a marker, but no watercolouring happening there. Again, that one's a Winsor & Newton, this one's a Faber-Castell. That one is better than the Winsor & Newton. It works quite well. Oh, maybe I will try using this again. Like, that's quite nice. And this is just on the cheapest paper. Oh, okay. Faber-Castell, you get a pass. The other thing is, yeah, like trying to build up layers if you want to get strong colour. Once you, I won't be able to do it here because this is not dried, but once it's dried and you add another layer on top, it sort of lifts the colour underneath instead of intensifying it. So yeah, it's just frustrating to use. So I'll give up on them, except for this Faber-Castell one, which I have now found is actually good. I'll put you aside. Okay, and still on watercolours. When I first started using watercolour, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on materials, and so I got into these watercolour sticks. You can buy them. Man, my sister Anne and I would buy like one to share between us because you snap it in half easily. You can kind of, yeah. The thing is, that's still got the other ink in it. Okay, let's go again. We'll go. Yeah, the thing with these is they're really, really hard to activate. Like, you know, normally if you're doing watercolors, you will spritz your color before you start. and after a few minutes they will be nice and soft and ready to use. These ones, it's actually working quite well with the water pen, but in a watercolour palette, they just, yeah, you'd have to be, pretend this is my watercolour palette, working it with your brush to get enough pigment. And so really, I would say do not buy watercolour sticks. I think this is from Daniel Smith. Just go and buy the tube paint or the half pans, and it will be so much nicer to work with. The only thing I would ever use this for maybe is if I wanted to do some crayoning, but then I would just go and use a real crayon instead of the watercolour stick. Next up, acrylic markers. They're not my thing. I've invested quite a bit in these and I never use them, or rarely use them. They're good sometimes, but if I went back in time, I'd probably spend that money on something else, something that I would get a lot more use out of, because I don't like the way they tear up the paper, especially if you're doing layering or trying to put down a big area of colour. You end up, it just tears into the paper and you end up with a mess. The other thing I don't like about them is that they don't last that long, especially when you're getting the bigger ones. If you've got the tiny little ones, the little ones that are pen size, probably smaller than this, yeah, then you've got to, you know, what would you call it, the ink inside to the ink used ratio is quite okay. But with the bigger ones, I've got some that are even bigger than this, you run out of ink really quickly and you've already got a bulky pen, and so you're spending your whole time like trying to get it activated, trying to get a bit of ink out, and it's all scratchy and no ink. Then the next minute you just get a big blob of ink on your page. So yeah, they're the main things. There's a couple of other materials I have that I don't have, I can't find. They're like somewhere, I put them away somewhere and can't find them now. And one of them is the Hemi Jelly Gouache. When I first started getting back into art, it was when the Hemi Jelly Gouache was really big. It was just the in thing at the time. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was reviewing their sets of gouache. And so I bought a set. I hated it. I actually hate gouache. I like acrylic gouache, but regular gouache is just not for me. I don't like that you're putting down a layer, you wait for it to dry, and then when you do the second layer, the first layer might reactivate, it might not reactivate. You don't know, and you have no idea until you actually try it. So you can end up with this big, just dirty, muddy mess that looks horrible. And so that's, again, something with a learning curve that I'm not prepared to invest the time into learning. And the other thing is, yeah, mixing colours is really hard with it, and getting to paint the right consistency to paint. So yeah, I moved on from the jelly gouache pretty quickly onto watercolours and found them a lot easier to work with, and then now I like using the acrylic gouache, but I don't think I'll ever go back to using just regular gouache. I mean, it's not just the Hemi Jelly Gouache, it's all regular gouaches really. And yeah, so these are the guys that you say no to. So do you have any art materials you regret buying? I'd love to know. Please leave a comment and tell me so that I don't make the same mistakes you did. I like learning from other people's mistakes. And thanks for joining me today for my art materials I regret buying. I will maybe make another video one day when I have more regrets. Oh, this is the bit where I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe. So, yep, I would really appreciate it if you did both those things. and see you next time.